At this time, I will call the special city council meeting to order. We will do a roll call at this time because in this session, we have several of the city council members that are on the connecting by distance. So at this time, Kyle, would you call the roll?
Mayor Burns.
Here.
Member Schaefer. Member Schaefer.
Present.
Hear us?
Yep, present.
Member Meister. Member Bearcaller.
I'm here, present.
Member DeCramer.
Here, present.
Member Labatt.
Present.
And Member Lazinski.
Present.
Okay, thank you very much. The agenda that we have before us, the primary item is to consider the resolution that would extend the declared emergency. As the council knows, I did declare a state of emergency on Tuesday, March 17th. That is valid until today. And the resolution before the council would extend that declaration of emergency. We note that there are two minor changes to that, and I believe they were sent out, Kyle. There are two minor changes, but really grammatical changes. So, Kyle, do you want to give any other detail about the resolution?
I have nothing to add.
Sharon, do you have anything to add? I'll open up for questions from the council. If there are no questions, I would entertain a motion for the resolution.
I so move.
Second.
Jim Lazinski.
Second, Councilman Labatt.
Motion by the Jim Lazinski council member, seconded by council member Russ Labatt. Discussion on that motion? If not, we'll call for a roll call vote on that motion. Kyle, take the roll, please.
Mayor Burns.
Yes.
Member Schaefer.
Yes.
Member Meister is absent. Member Bearcaller.
Yes.
Member DeCramer.
Yes.
Member Labatt.
Yes.
And Member Lazinski.
Yes.
That motion does pass. Thank you very much. I'll now move to the next agenda item, which is a general update on the situation that we are in related to the COVID-19 emergency. Sharon, I'll start with you, and then Director of Public Safety, Jim Marshall.
Okay, and I apologize, I probably could talk for 10 minutes straight without taking a pause, but I'll try to be brief and hit the highlights. On March 9th, and at that time, the World Health Organization did not classify this as a pandemic at that particular date. But that's when we started to see a lot of movement at the national level regarding this particular pandemic. But for us at the city, that's when we actually issued a draft business continuity plan for review by our Emergency Management Director, Jim Marshall. March 10th, Jim and I had some additional conversations about city operations and the effect. And then as soon as March 11th, actually the city took action in terms of social distancing, and one of the first things that we did was we restricted travel of our employees to meetings. I think we were probably one of the first organizations in the region to do that. And obviously there's a lot of information to take in we really are taking it in as fast as we can and, you know, assimilating it and then putting back out information to our staff. This is a huge human resource, people impacted issue, of course. So our Human Resources Director, Sheila Dubs, has been doing a fantastic job trying to give out directions to supervisors in terms of what they need to do, and then also just helping message to the employees about good practices. All the council is aware of the closures that have been done. That was put out in a press release, and so I don't need to go over that. We have shifted some of our current staff, obviously with Red Baron being closed and recreations and our senior center. I'll give you an example right now. Scott Vandermillen's done a really good job with those particular staff. Our park staff is actually helping out the liquor store, who's had increased sales, of course, just like the grocery stores, and that's been much needed by our liquor store operations. And even yesterday, one of them was trained in to run the till. Heather and Barb at the senior center have called all the members of the senior center, just over 600 members, just checking in on them and making sure that they're doing okay, and that's been really appreciated by that membership. So a really good job there. We have implemented, since the declaration was called on March 17th, it allowed us to do some variance from personnel policy. So we did implement encouragement of telecommuting. Not every position can do that technology-wise, or maybe it just isn't feasible with the position that they have. Obviously, some positions have to be on site, the critical functions, police, fire, wastewater, streets department, but we have implemented and encouraged that, and we are starting to see that. Brian Hart, our computer IT services, has stated the transition that we made to SMSU and having a separate system has made this really a lot better for the city. There's efficiency there, so I wanted to point that out because the council made that decision to make that separation. So give credit to the council for doing that. As we go forward, we're not sure exactly what's going to happen, just like the rest of us, but we are kind of thinking ahead on additional items. And one of the things that at this point we are considering all city staff essential. So if there's further orders by the governor, at this point we are considering all city staff essential. And if we have to make further analysis down the road, we'll do that. But for now, they are listed as essential. One other item I'll just point back to on human resources is 2 days ago, I think it was 2 days ago, maybe yesterday, there was a federal law enacted that gives some protections for employees under FMLA, and it also provides emergency paid leave. So it's in addition to an employee's accrued sick leave. For employers under 500, one of the things that we want to do is communicate with our business community. It's been just a lot of time and energy kind of worried about city operations, and so we'll try to do a little bit more of that with the chamber in the very short order here, hopefully early next week. We need to establish some good communication with them. This is difficult on them, and so hopefully we can do some measures for them too. I don't know what that is at this point. So it's just a brief update on some of the things that we did. We can go into a lot more detail, but I'm going to turn it over to Director Marshall to mention additional items that he might have.
Right. Thank you, Mayor and Council. I hate to be too repetitive. I'll just share a couple of comments with you guys today. Actually, in the beginning of March, we convened our first leadership team meeting with the mayor to talk about what an emergency operations center would look like. At the beginning of March, we never had an idea that we would be dealing with the crisis that we're dealing with right now. Over the last 25 years, I've always sat back and visualized things in my mind, especially when it comes to disasters within the city or emergencies. And I can tell you that I've never thought that this is what I'd be dealing with as a pandemic disease. But I also just wanted to share that Sharon mentioned that we've been working this past week with the continuity of operations plan. Just the other day, and we put a lot of work into it, and it's a document that you guys will see in your next council packet. But I just realized the other day that what it is, it's a piece of paper, and it's a plan, and it's important. But I get a lot of peace and calm knowing the leadership that I've seen this past week from not just Sharon, but everybody in leadership roles. And I'm confident we're going to be fine. We're going to keep moving forward. And I'll open up the questions, Mayor, if you have any. And
Sure. Thank you, Sharon. Thank you, Jim. Let me just hit on a couple points, and then we'll open it up for general discussion from the council. First off, the Tuesday, March 24th is our regular city council meeting. My direction is that we will be broadcast from here. The council, may or may not be here, but we also have to really follow the CDC guidance also in addition. So one thing that we will learn from this meeting is, how well, or if there's challenges with connecting by remotely. So that's really a work in progress. And Kyle, I thank you and Alex for giving leadership to that. We want to be sure that we have public access to that meeting. In addition, we have a public hearing on the South First Street project that's scheduled that evening. I believe it's been the administrative direction that since it's been published, we will open that meeting and then likely recommend it be continued to a future meeting to provide adequate time for anyone to provide written or other input other than being in person. So that's obviously a different procedure. We also have the Board of Equalization and Review that is coming up on April 7th. And we will need to talk about how that can actually be conducted. So, and I know Dave Parsons, the city assessor, is in communications with the Department of Revenue on guidance for how that can happen. The city also has appointments to the various boards and commissions that are coming up under the state of emergency. I would recommend that we do not hold interviews for openings on the, but we do accept on the various boards and commissions, but we do accept applications. And that I would make, as mayor, would make those appointments and then inform the council. I would also ask that our boards and commissions that have scheduled meetings, first off, make the evaluation whether or not that agenda that they have for their monthly meetings warrants a meeting, and if so, that meeting be held by distance. I'd also say that through this process, we have a emergency operations plan, and thankfully the council, adopted that plan, and thanks for a lot of work under the leadership of Chief Marshall that went into our emergency operations plan. Avera Medical Center has been an integral part of the communication and planning. Thank you to them, as well as Dr. Meister, who has been a spokesperson, as you all know, on the medical condition. He's done a marvelous job on that. With that, let me open it up for just general questions, discussion, input, advice from the City Council.
Mr. Mayor, Russ Labatt here. We also have the town hall meeting scheduled for April 3rd. I think it'd be appropriate that we postpone those at this time, starting at April 3rd.
Everyone else in agreement with that?
I would be in agreement with that. I think we need to just delay those, not cancel them, but delay them.
Yeah, I agree. I think that those might be best pushed off probably, to the backside. We're going to have a lot of catch up when some of the restrictions are actually lifted. So they're important, but I think they're probably a layer 2 or a layer 3.
And Glenn, you're also okay with that, or?
Yes, I am.
Okay. So good suggestion. Those town hall meetings will be delayed. Other input from the council?
Mr. Mayor, Craig Schaefer.
Yes, Craig.
I just want to commend the city leadership, Sharon, Jim, all the department heads. These are really tough times. It's working on it from my position at the state and some of the other things. I mean, it's a completely different set of business priorities that we're having to adjust to, and we don't know what lays forward. Things are moving pretty fast all the way from the federal down, and I just want to applaud the city leadership for focusing on the citizens of Marshall. I think that's very critical. I know that I'm sure we're all nervous. I'm nervous, about where it lies, but I think as a council and as a community, we need to keep looking forward, and we need to continue to put our citizens and their needs and the priorities and serving them forward like we have been. And I really commend city staff and the leadership to continue to do that. I think it's important. And I think this is when, having been on a number of natural disaster type incidents with other communities, most of the time you have the benefit of coming in not being from there, so it's pretty easy to come in with a friendly face and calm because you're not affected. Well, everybody in the world is affected now, so none of us have that luxury, but yet understanding how important it is for our residents to have us understand even the most basic needs and putting those first. And a lot of this is going to be things that we're not used to being responsible to deliver, but the fact that we're focusing on those needs of our citizens and putting their comfort and their both physical and mental well-being first, I think is extremely important. And even the ones that maybe don't believe it's this bad, and I don't know, history will tell us how bad this was. I think they appreciate it, and I think it shows the strength of our community. And I just really appreciate the fact that we're looking forward and moving forward.
Thank you, Craig. Any other input from the city council?
Mr. Mayor, Russ Labatt again. Am I
Go ahead.
on?
Go ahead, Russ.
I just want to commend you and Sharon for keeping all of us informed. I mean, we're sitting here, a lot of us are at home and not going out any place, but through emails and communication. I think also in addition to city staff, yourself and Sharon should be commended because you're keeping us informed of what's going on. So I thank you for that as well.
Thank you, Russ.
I was going to add into that, Russ, as well, the video updates that Mayor and Dr. Meister and Superintendent, who's attending here now too, are doing, very much appreciated and encouraged. And just, kind of really the question I had, is there any updates? I'm assuming at this point, the county still has not had a confirmed case, and just curious on the testing capability Marshall has. I don't know if anybody here can answer that other than Dr. Meister, who's not able to attend. So.
At this time, we don't have a update for today. Dr. Meister on the video that was done yesterday did discuss testing that is occurring, limited testing based on pre-qualifications of those that need to be tested, but we have not seen an update that includes Lyon County at this time. I should say Dr. Meister is not present at this meeting because he has a Avera Health update meeting right at exactly the same time. So it's one of those, like we have said in the past, we have the information that we have at today, right now at 12:21 p.m. Later this afternoon, it might be different. Tomorrow, it might be different. So
That's right.
there's others in the room that may want to offer some input. John, you mentioned Superintendent Scott Munson, not to put you on the spot, but if there is any update, you can do it at this time or not.
Well, I would echo what probably a lot of people have said, just gratitude to the city and everyone associated with that, and just all of our local and community organizations for response and collaboration. I think we all get guidance from different groups, and ours primarily, although it certainly comes from Governor Walz, ours primarily comes from the Department of Education. So as many of you may know, we were notified, I believe it was March 15th at 8 o'clock in the morning which was a Sunday, on a conference call with the governor, that he was going to be closing schools for students from March 18th through the 27th, and that we had that 8-day planning period to really do three things: to figure out a way to prepare and provide meals to our children, students, no matter where they go to school or whatever. So, for example, yesterday we served 535 meals to students in Marshall. We're looking at how we can, and that was over double what the first day was. So we're looking at how we can even increase that number more significantly. The second thing the governor directed us to do was to provide child care options or services for children aged 4 through 12, so school age, of emergency personnel, healthcare workers, law enforcement, school staff members. That was expanded yesterday to include employees at grocery stores. So we've had about 40 children who have been receiving child care between 7:30 and 5:30 each day. Again, we're hoping that number increases. We know there's a need out there. And third, the third charge from the governor was to use these 8 days to prepare what's called a distance learning plan in the event that starting on March 30th, we would need to continue with the school closure. I don't want to make assumptions, but I think it's pretty clear, at least from my opinion, that we will not be back in school March 30th. And our staff are working super hard to figure out these distance learning plans, think out of the box, try to address any unknowns that we might encounter. Obviously, it's going to need to rely heavily on technology, and not all of our families have access to technology. So they all have a device, all of our students do, but the internet is going to be a big challenge for some of them. So we'll be ready on March 30th. There'll be some hiccups the first week, but the longer we are asked to continue with that school closure plan, the better we'll get at it. And like I said, I just want to make sure I compliment our staff for how hard they're working on that. Like all of you, we're using appropriate social distancing protocols as much as possible, really encouraging our folks to meet remotely and stay as far apart as possible, but yet still work together. And our staff and families have been awesome to work with. I can certainly try to answer any specific questions if any of the council members or the mayor or administrator have any, or anyone else.
Thank you, Scott. We appreciate your leadership.
Thank you.
Also in the room is Jasmine DeSmet, who is will be coordinating volunteer efforts, and currently she's like assessing the volunteer needs in the community, and should the situation continue, as it does continue, we anticipate there'll be an increasing need for volunteer, and Jasmine is spending time assessing that need right now. As has been mentioned earlier in previous discussions, supply chain is not interrupted in the community. Our retailers that are open are able to get supplies. I was at a grocery store this morning, and there was milk, there was toilet paper, there were supplies that were available, and people were there. So we would encourage people, as they need things, don't hesitate to support our local businesses. Sharon, let me turn back to you. Anything else that you want to add?
Not at this time.
Open it up for any other input from the council. If not, I would entertain a motion to adjourn at this time.
So moved.
Second,
And that,
Russ Labatt.
who made?
Jim Lozinski. Jim.
Motion by Jim, seconded by Russ to adjourn, and we'll do a voice vote on this. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? We are adjourned. Special thank you to the council members that went through the extra effort in connecting by technology. So thank you.
Thank you, everybody.